They expected me to surrender quietly. Instead, I exposed everything. Welcome to my new story.
Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house had always been predictable. The same table, the same jokes, the same quiet sense that family meant safety. That night proved how wrong that idea was. Halfway through the meal, my brother Ethan tapped his glass with a spoon. The small clink cut through the room. "I have an announcement," he said, smiling like he had been waiting for this moment all year. "Mom and Dad decided the company will officially be mine now. Lily won't be involved anymore." For a second, I thought I had heard him wrong, but then I looked around the table. My mother stared at her napkin. My father suddenly found the turkey very interesting. No one corrected him. No one defended me. The company they were talking about was the one I had built from nothing. 5 years of sleepless nights, loans, risks, every decision. Ethan leaned back in his chair, confident, like the conversation was already finished. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. Instead, I slowly reached into my bag and pulled out a thin folder. "Ethan," I said quietly, sliding one page across the table. "Before you celebrate, you might want to read this." He frowned and picked up the document. It was the original incorporation filing, my signature, my name listed as founder, sole shareholder, legal owner. I had filed everything myself years ago, every contract, every registration, every protection. The room grew painfully silent. My father cleared his throat, his voice heavy. "He's right to read it, because legally, the company belongs to Lily." Ethan's confidence vanished. I simply stood, picked up my coat, and walked toward the door. Some victories don't require shouting, just the truth, written where no one can erase it. Sunday dinner at my parents' house was supposed to be simple. Just family, warm food, and the familiar noise of everyone talking at once. But that night felt different. Halfway through the meal, my older brother Mark suddenly stood up with a confident smile. "I think it's time we make things official," he said, raising his glass slightly. "Mom and Dad decided the business will be under my control now. Lily has done enough, but it's better if I take over from here." The words landed like a heavy stone in the middle of the table. For a moment, I thought someone would laugh. Correct him. Say it was a misunderstanding. No one did. My mother avoided my eyes. My father quietly sipped his drink. My cousins looked between us, unsure what to say. The business Mark was claiming was the one I had built from the ground up. Years of work, endless nights, risks no one else was willing to take. Mark leaned back in his chair, satisfied, as if the decision had already been accepted. I didn't react. I didn't argue. Instead, I calmly reached for the leather folder I had brought with me. "Mark," I said quietly, sliding several papers across the table. "Before you celebrate, you might want to read these." His smile faded as he opened the documents. Ownership records. Incorporation papers. Every legal filing from the beginning. Each one carried the same name. Lily Carter, founder, sole owner. The room grew painfully silent. My father finally exhaled. "We thought family pressure would make you agree." I stood slowly, collecting the papers. Some people believe silence means weakness. Sometimes it just means you already hold the proof. The dinner was meant to celebrate my father's retirement. The table was full. Plates clattered, conversations overlapped. For a moment, everything felt normal. Then my cousin Victor cleared his throat and stood up. "I guess it's time we talk about the company," he said, glancing at my parents before looking straight at me. "The family agrees it should move under my leadership now. Lily has done her part, but it's better if someone else runs it." A quiet wave of murmurs moved around the table. I stared at him, trying to understand how the business I had built from nothing had suddenly become a family decision. 5 years earlier, I had started that company alone. No funding, no help. Just long nights and the quiet belief that it could work. Now Victor spoke like it had always belonged to him. My mother looked down at her plate. My father said nothing. They were waiting for me to accept it. But I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. Instead, I took a slow breath and reached into my bag. "Victor," I said calmly, placing a single document on the table. "Before we decide anything, You should probably read this. He frowned and picked up the paper. The incorporation filing, the ownership declaration, the legal registration from the very first day. Every line said the same thing. Founder and sole owner, Lily Carter. The room fell completely silent. Victor's confidence disappeared as quickly as it had arrived. My father finally spoke, his voice low. We thought you'd go along with it. I simply folded the document and stood. Some moments don't require anger, just the quiet power of the truth. The dinner started like every other family gathering. Warm food, laughter, the comfortable illusion that everyone at the table was on the same side. I should have known it wouldn't last. Halfway through the meal, my brother Ryan set his glass down and stood up. The room slowly quieted as he cleared his throat. I think it's time we talk about the company, he said, his voice calm but confident. Lily won't be involved anymore. From now on, I'll be running everything. For a moment, the words didn't make sense. The company he was talking about was the one I had spent years building, the one I started alone, working late nights while everyone else doubted it would survive. I waited for someone to correct him. No one did. My mother avoided my eyes. My father focused on his plate like the conversation had nothing to do with him. Around the table, relatives shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent. Ryan leaned back in his chair, satisfied, like the decision had already been accepted. I didn't react. I didn't argue. Instead, I quietly reached into my bag and pulled out a thin envelope. Ryan, I said calmly, sliding one document across the table. Before you make announcements like that, you should probably read this. He frowned and unfolded the paper. The original business registration, the legal ownership filing, every line carefully documented, and every page carried the same name, founder and sole owner, Lily Carter. The room fell into complete silence. Ryan stared at the document, his confidence draining away. Finally, my father sighed. We thought, family pressure would make you step aside. I stood slowly and gathered my things. Some truths don't need loud voices. Just the right moment and the right piece of paper. The dinner table looked the same as it always had. My mother's careful cooking, my father at the head of the table, my brother Jason scrolling through his phone like the evening belonged to him. For a moment, I believed it was just another quiet family night. Then Jason pushed his chair back and stood. I guess we should make this official, he said casually. From now on, I'll be running the company. Mom and Dad agreed it's better this way. Lily doesn't need to be involved anymore. The words hung in the air. I looked at my parents, expecting confusion, maybe even denial. Instead, they stayed silent. My mother stared down at her plate. My father slowly sipped his drink like he had rehearsed this moment already. Jason leaned against the table, confident, like the business I had spent years building had simply become a family gift he could claim. 5 years of sleepless nights, risk, doubt, every decision I made alone. And now they expected me to just accept it. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. Instead, I quietly reached beside my chair and opened the leather folder I had brought with me. Jason, I said calmly, sliding a stack of papers across the table. Before you celebrate, you should read these. His confident smile faded as he opened the documents. Incorporation records, ownership filings. Every contract from the first day the company existed. Each page carried the same name. Lily Carter, founder, sole legal owner. The room became painfully silent. My father finally sighed. We thought, family pressure might make you step aside. I closed the folder slowly. Some betrayals reveal who people really are. And sometimes, the strongest response is simply being prepared. The dinner was supposed to be a celebration. My parents had invited everyone, uncles, cousins, even a few family friends. The table was crowded, filled with warm food and quiet conversations. At first, everything felt normal. Then my older brother Aaron stood up. He didn't look nervous. In fact, he looked confident, almost rehearsed. I think it's time we talk about the company, he said, glancing around the table before his eyes landed on me. Mom and Dad agree it should be transferred to me. Lily has worked hard, but it's better for the family if I take over now. The words echoed in the room. I waited for someone to laugh, to correct him, to say this was some strange misunderstanding. No one did. My mother kept staring at her plate. My father folded his hands quietly. Around the table, people shifted in their chairs but stayed silent. It suddenly became clear what this was: family pressure. They thought the crowd would make it impossible for me to refuse. Aaron leaned back in his chair, smiling like the decision had already been made. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. Instead, I slowly reached down and pulled a thin folder from my bag. "Aaron?" I said calmly, sliding the documents across the table. "Before anyone decides anything, you should read these." His smile faded as he opened the papers: the incorporation filing, ownership agreements, every legal record since the day the company was created. Each page carried the same name: Lily Carter, founder, sole owner. The room fell completely silent. My father finally sighed. "We thought you'd give in." I closed the folder and stood. Sometimes people mistake silence for weakness, but sometimes it just means you're ready.